I'm Jim Collison and live from the Gallup studios here in Omaha, Nebraska. This is Gallup's Call to Coach, recorded on March 2nd, 2018. Call to Coach is a resource for those who want to help others discover and use their strengths. We have Gallup experts and independent strengths coaches share tactics, insights, and strategies to help coaches maximize the talent of individuals, teams, and organizations around the world. If you have questions during this live webcast, we do have a live chat room that's available for you. Right below the main video window, if you just look down below there, the chat room down there, bottom left-hand corner, it says log in. Choose the guest account. Don't need to create an account there. Just choose guest, take the name out and the numbers, put your own name in so we know who you are. Then hit submit, and we'd love to take your questions live during the program. If you're listening to the recorded version or have questions about custom strengths coaching solutions for your organization, you can contact us as well. Send us an email, coaching@gallup.com, or use the contact form right there on the live page. Don't forget to visit the Gallup Strengths Center for all your CliftonStrengths coaching resources and training needs. You can also catch the video and now both streaming and downloadable audio. We call that podcasting. For offline listening, all available for you. All the ways to do it are on our resources page at the coach's blog. Again, that's coaching.gallup.com. Mark Pogue is our host today. Mark is the executive director of the CliftonStrengths Institute at the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. And Mark, I wore the gear just for you today. Welcome back to Call the Coach.
Support. GBR, Go Big Red.
That's right. That's right. And there's a lot of hope in Nebraska for Go Big Red as we think about the fall. We're not here to talk about Nebraska football, though. I wish we were in some ways, but we're not. We are here to talk about the awesome strengths work that is going on at UNL there, and to get an update from you. Can you kind of just give us a little update of what's going on, and we'll introduce our guest as well.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Jim. Yep, we've got a lot going on here. In the CliftonStrengths Institute within the College of Business at the University of Nebraska. This is an ongoing experiment that we started almost 3 years ago. It'll be 3 years ago in August that I landed here. And since then, we've been given the opportunity to take over an existing course that all of our business freshmen participated in. It was an 8-week course that really was, kind of the equivalent of a first-year experience type program, trying to help those students in their first 8 weeks kind of figure out, yes, in fact, you have to go to class. Yes, in fact, you have to study. There are, repercussions for not being a student and thinking that college is something other than that. And then as well, just helping students adjust to, life away from maybe small town Nebraska. We've got a lot of those students here too. And we are a land grant college, so we are open enrollment. And so that means we get students that maybe were flipping a coin between staying on the farm and going to college and just decided to show up and then found themselves in a rushing river trying to figure out how to manage things. So, and then at the same time, we've got students that came here because they were on scholarship and they were a part of an exclusive program, maybe the honors program. And so we have this huge range of students that show up on campus in the fall. And so one of the first things we figured out is that we wanted to move from just strictly a more of a lecture format course, and one that was really, more a traditional first-year experience course, and instead move towards one that integrated strengths throughout the entire 8-week class. And in addition to that, we figured out pretty quickly that even though there was an existing format for students to kind of pare down the size of the class, we have 2 sections of approximately almost 400 students each. Not quite that, but close to it. 385 is really our capacity in our sections. And so that, along with online students, we have close to 900, 1,000 students every fall. And so trying to get to that place where we can make that more personal. There was an existing, what they call recitation, meaningless word. Nobody knows what that means. Has something to do with repeating things back. I have no idea. It still exists. It's a tradition here at the University of Nebraska. I'm trying to slowly move that out of our lexicon, but we call it team meetings instead. And so now we've moved to a format where instead of going into recitation of 30 students and maybe doing some activities and meeting a few students, which is a good thing. We've moved to a coaching program. And so we wanted to leverage all that we could out of our students having the opportunity to find out what their top 5 were with the CliftonStrengths instrument. And we've moved to a program now where we recruit approximately 60 coaches a year. We need to have a full complement of about 85 coaches every fall that can be responsible for 10 students in a team situation. Because of the size of our classrooms here in the College of Business, what that ends up being is 5 teams meeting together once a week in addition to the lecture. And in those team meetings, we've tried to create some activities and experiential learning that students have that allow them to apply their strengths. But in addition to that, also learn a little bit about what it means to be a successful student and those things that they can be doing while they're at college that increase the probability of them having being engaged in their work after school, and as well having higher levels of well-being in their overall life experience. So you can hear some of that language that probably most of you all are prompted to think about, the Gallup Purdue Index, and that's exactly the tool we use. Students self-assess themselves with the Gallup Purdue Index, and they're also required within the context of the course to find somebody to interview. So we're kind of a mini Gallup interviewing center where we have all of our students, all 800 or so students, find someone that they feel like really loves what they do and have graduated from college, and then actually conduct a Gallup Purdue survey with them. So they're asking those same questions about how they experience their life. Ladder question, where do you put yourself on a ladder now, and where do you put yourself in the next 5 years? And then they collect that data and then try to make sense of it in their groups of 10. In addition to that, and it's the part that I think is the game changer, those teams of 10 with a coach assigned to it are responsible for coaching each of those individual 10 students. And so Liz has also been a coach for us this spring with a smaller section of that same large class that we have in the fall. The reason that I wanted Liz to be with us on the call is Liz is our top #1 rated coach. And so we have a number of items that we use to evaluate the coaching experience that the student has with their strengths coach. And Liz got, out of a 5-point scale, Liz got a 4.9 rating from her students in the fall. And so she's absolutely, empirically measured, she is our best coach. So Liz, why don't you tell us a little bit about what your activities are as a coach. We can talk a little bit about some of those items that we use to measure how effective you were with your students, but talk a little bit about the experience that you've had coaching the freshman students.
I would say that my largest responsibility as a coach has just been to act as a mentor to the incoming students here, mostly just acting as a resource so that if they have questions about things that maybe aren't even necessarily related to strengths, where do I go to get help on a resume, or where is the library at? Even things like that, just acting as a resource so that they have someone to ask those questions to. I also have really enjoyed the experience of helping them to know their strengths and to help them answer some questions about why am I here at the university and what is it that I'm hoping to get out of this experience. And I found that they've been really receptive to me, and the one-on-one coaching meetings, they've really appreciated those. And even if they aren't engaged in the classwork we're doing, I've never had a student not be engaged in my one-on-one coaching meetings with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's, really a key to this, Jim, is that we certainly create a structure and a format for our coaches to explore the strengths with the students. We want them to know what their top 5 are and how to apply those to be effective as students. But what Liz just emphasized, I think, is probably what's most important, and that is that relationship, that one-to-one relationship. I think if nothing else happens, especially in the first 2 weeks, what we know is that if students don't make a meaningful connection with somebody on campus in the first couple of weeks of class, there's a good chance they're making a mental decision even then to not come back after Thanksgiving or not come back after that first semester. We actually are very intentional about making sure we get our first coaching session in before our students go home for Labor Day weekend. And so making sure that they've made that meaningful connection. And so our coaches have a great opportunity to really connect with students and just be a friend to them. But they do that within the context of strengths. And I think strengths creates a great format for that because it's so positive. And so Liz, why don't you talk a little bit about, just how you go through a strengths conversation with them initially, what you're looking for, how you're trying to motivate that student and encourage them around their strengths and help them think about how their strengths are going to help them be successful.
I would say the bulk of our first meeting, which is normally about 30 to 45 minutes, is spent just getting to know them, who they are, what their aspirations are. And then in the last half hour or so, I'll dig into their insight reports. And I normally go through that with them. And I have them highlight the aspects of that that really relate to them and resonate. And I love seeing the light bulb go off in their eyes when they know that something is meaningful to them. They're like, this exactly is what I've been trying to tell everyone. And it just gives them a really strong language to describe what they're feeling and what they're thinking. And then it's also great because in the College of Business, you do a lot of group projects. And so when you're working in these teams of people, it gives you a language to describe, these are my strengths and this is what I enjoy doing. And then this is where I need someone to help me out. I don't feel comfortable standing in front of a room of people, but I'm more than happy to go over the data. And so just giving that to them as a language early on has, I believe, infinitely helped them through their education here. And then in the second meeting, we go into their GPI results and we talk about how they're doing as a student. So are they feeling comfortable? Do they have a friend on campus? Are they reaching out to the resources that are here? And that's a really good indicator for us as coaches. We can pick up on the students that are doing really well or the students that need some more resources, need some more coaching. And it's a great point of contact for us to be able to reach out to them and give them a little bit more attention if that's what they're needing at that time.
Hey, Mark, this is when you're talking about the Gallup Purdue Index, and you guys are actually using it as a tool like Q12 in some ways, right? You're measuring kind of their engagement. Can other organizations, certainly the chat room, Joe in the chat room asked where I go. And if you go to Gallup.com, search Gallup Purdue Index, you can get to the page and you can contact us. But is there a way, could other universities use this on their current, typically we think of that the GPI as being post. You're kind of using it during. Are there ways for organizations to get involved this way to be able to do that as well?
Yeah, I think that would be that would just be you, the institution contacting Gallup and asking permission to use those. That's what I did. I kind of went through the same steps as anybody would, even though I've got a pretty close connection with Gallup. But yeah, I just asked for permission to use it in that context. Obviously, we don't want folks borrowing our GPI items and going up and setting up a survey shop somewhere. But I think, if you approach the higher ed division and ask for permission to be able to use that in the context of a setting like this, I think they would probably be just use it. We're not collecting data and trying to make any really significant conclusions about that. It's really more used as a self-reflection tool. And you mentioned that it's kind of like Q12. Well, there's Q12 items included in that Gallup Purdue Index. So it does give students an opportunity to kind of reflect on some of those things that would indicate whether or not they're engaged in school or not.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So you guys aren't necessarily using the index tool that we're using for the rest, but taking those questions, incorporating them as a part of the questions you're asking the students, then getting those responses back and coaching based on it.
Yep. Well, and I would, two things. One, they take the survey themselves. So the 25, 26 items or whatever there are on Gallup Purdue Index, they rate them themselves on a 1 to 5 scale, just like we would with a telephone interview or calling somebody up and actually conducting the survey. And then they do call up an alumni. They self-select an alumni. We ask that they, try to find somebody that's been out of college for a few years and is employed full-time. Those are the only two knockout items that we have on it. And then basically conduct the survey with them. It gives them an opportunity to actually ask them some questions, ask an alumni some questions. And if they want to, they can always dig deeper. It's not that formal survey approach that we'd have within, at a Gallup survey center, but instead more again, just collecting information that provides an opportunity for them to do some self-reflection on what they want out of college.
Yeah. Liz, as a coach, have you found any of those questions more helpful for others than others? Do you find you're getting some good response back from them, or what's any nuggets of truth in there that you're finding?
We try to focus on the big 6 questions. So the ones that I think are really telling are when the alumni are saying, I had an internship that was meaningful. I was involved in meaningful activities. I had a professor that cared about me. I had a professor that cared about my learning. Those are the ones that really get them to think about, maybe I should be going to office hours. Maybe I should be joining clubs. Maybe I should be looking into the resources that are here that can help me out with these things. And when they see the comparison of the high alumni results and then their scores, which aren't necessarily low, but they're more average, they start thinking about the steps that they should be taking before they graduate here.
Liz, why don't you talk a little bit about the range of students that you experience when you have a team? I mean, I think it's important to, we probably can pick one out of our mind and have this perfect example of a student that we're able to help, but kind of talk a little bit about the range and how you respond to that range.
We've had a really far range, or at least in my experience, I've had a very far range. I've had the students that come in with an exact goal in mind. They know what major they want. They know what internships they want when they graduate. They know what they want to do full time. And those are really fun and exciting coaching conversations. But then we also have students who don't know exactly what they want to do. They don't know if this is the right school for them. And so we get to have those conversations that are a little bit more in depth and a little bit more planning oriented. And I really enjoy those also. Another, I wouldn't say it's a challenge, but it's an opportunity for growth that we have as coaches, is working with international students, and they present their own set of things that we get to work with. So so they come in maybe not knowing the language as well, or they have issues just navigating around Lincoln, and they also sometimes don't want to talk about themselves. And so that's a barrier that we get to break down. And it's actually one that I really enjoy working through. So talking about themselves and really giving them the opportunity to brag about the things that they're doing. I mean, you're in a whole new country and you're doing all these awesome things and you're getting your education and you're going to be able to have all this knowledge to take back with you. And so the question that I always ask them that gets them to open up is, will you show me where you're at on the map? And they love pointing out where they're from and showing me and telling me about their hometown and telling me about their family. And then I find that once I break down that barrier, they're very receptive to talking to me about themselves and what their hopes and dreams are here at this university.
That's so good. We're trying to capture, some of this best practice that you hear Liz talking about. She's obviously one of our best coaches and she brings a lot of talent to the table. And so we can trust Liz to kind of find her way. But we're also trying to do a better job at preparing our coaches to be successful with students. So one of the developments that we've had just recently is that we've been working through that bureaucracy that is academia, and actually getting approval to have a full 3-credit full semester course that our coach candidates now participate in prior to coaching for us in the fall. It's created a little bit of some more administrative needs that we have on our part. But what we do is, as soon as the class ends, first 8 weeks in the fall, we are full on recruiting as many students as we can to interview for positions to be coaches for us the following fall. And so now you're actually talking to a lot of freshmen about making decisions a year out. Amazing. Oh my gosh, this is mind blowing that I would be thinking about things that I'm going to need to do a year from now. But we actually had 2 of our coaches that, high woo, high positivity, and they were our recruiters. So we sent them out to student organizations. We had a meeting and coming in and making presentations to all the team meetings. And we recruited probably 120 or so, 150 or so candidates for coaching, and then interviewed the ones that, we felt qualified, and then selected 60 students to invite to this class that we now have available for our students to take in the spring. And so we're going through that first iteration of that now. We have, I think it ended up being 58 students that are participating in the coach class That'll give us a full complement of 80 plus students in the fall. And we get to go really in depth with them. So in addition to just answering a lot of the issues that come up as a result of being a freshman student in the College of Business and all the things that, come along with that, we're also getting a lot of that we're developing theme competency in our coaches, really getting a chance to help them develop their skills as a coach. So a lot of practice coaching sessions and a lot of activities that we're able to draw from that allow us to help develop the skills that our coaches have just to coach, let alone do that from a strengths perspective. And so we're super excited about all that's going on with that coaching class.
Mark, they're asking in the chat room, Liz, let's get to know you a little bit. We kind of went right down to business. Where are you from?
I was
and then tell us your top 5 as well.
Okay. I grew up in the Dayton, Ohio area, and I moved around quite a bit as a kid, but I ended up doing high school here in Lincoln, and I decided that Nebraska was the place that I wanted to be and that I love the state and I love the school and the opportunities that were coming with this new building. I don't know if you guys know this, but we're sitting in a brand new building that was just put up, and it's beautiful, and it's been a great place to be learning at. I'm studying management, and I'm also working on my sales certificate. And then this summer, I'll actually be interning at Gallup as a sales intern. So I'm very excited for that opportunity as well. My top 5: responsibility, achiever, individualization, discipline, and relator.
And of those top 5, how do you think you're using, in your coaching success? What are you leaning on? What do you lead with? Just talk a little bit about that.
I would say in my everyday life, no matter what I'm doing, I lead really heavy on my responsibility. It keeps me very committed to my students. I'll answer emails no matter what time of day. If they have questions, I feel like I'm a very open person. They can come and ask those to me. I also love the individualization that I have with them. So I don't necessarily go off of, we have really great resources for what we could be doing in our courses, but I kind of go based off of what their needs are in that day. So do they need to talk about how their day was, or do they need to plan for their next semester? Or how do they want to have a deeper coaching conversation about their strengths? But no matter what, I always work strengths into it. It's just what are their needs for that day.
And then how did you come to the coaching decision to say, yes, I want to do this? And then Mark, what have you seen? How are the students overall how are you doing that recruiting effort? So Liz, how did you come to the decision you wanted to be a coach?
Well, I actually never had I was never coached myself. So I started when this program was started. So that would have been 3 years ago. I went through Mark's lecture. It was at 8 a.m. We had to walk across campus. It was pretty, it was brand new. It was a really fun class for me. And I noticed that while sometimes students were disengaged, I was really engaged. I loved the content. I loved exactly what was being said. And I knew that it was something that I wanted to be involved in. So when a professor approached me and said they're applying for coaches, or asking for recruiting, she had recommended that I apply. And so I didn't even know that it was an opportunity, but once I heard that it was, I jumped on it immediately. And so this is my second semester coaching, and I'll be coaching in the fall as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, are you seeing any trends when you think about your recruiting with the coaches? Do you see any trends in that? As far as the students go?
Question. Yeah, it's a great question. And it's interesting where we're headed with this, Jim, because we had the intent of bringing this to the entire campus. And at first we were recruiting from, we'd go to the education college. I'd go over to arts and sciences and talk to psychology majors and, go anywhere where I felt like I could find good coaches, just kind of guessing that maybe there's some empathy over there or whatever. But as we continue to pursue doing this with the entire campus, we really need to be able to depend on coaches for our students here in the College of Business coming out of the College of Business. And it creates an interesting paradigm because we're recruiting a lot of coaches that have competition and, more influencing themes than just pure relationship building themes. And so it has kind of changed how we approach developing these coaches into good coaches. Thankfully we've got great examples that we can have great successes with this, because Liz is a perfect example. She's in the College of Business and she has a lot of push. If she's going to be a salesperson for Gallup, we know that she's got some influencing themes and has that push to close a deal. But what we lead with in the College of Business, our number one theme, as we've collected data on our students, is competition. And so can you be a good coach with competition? What does that look like? The second thing that we see, showing up a lot is restorative. So how can I leverage restorative in this need to fix problems? It would make sense that would be a great coaching theme, but how do I do that without always looking at the student as a problem, as opposed to just trying to figure out what those problems are that I might help them be more successful and maximize their experience? So it has been a challenge trying to figure out how to use the themes that we have available to us. I think we actually kind of leverage that in terms of our recruiting process. We help students know that we did evaluate our coaches and that we did find out who the best coach was at the end of the 8 weeks. And so I think that encouraged some of those competitive students to apply to be a coach because they could win. And, so we tried to take full advantage of what we knew about our student population in terms of our recruitment process.
Mark, do the student Eric is asking this question in chat. Do student coaches get credit for their work, or are they designated as TAs? And what are some of the other incentives as a coach? And Liz, maybe you can talk a little bit about what was your incentive to do that. But Mark, how does that structurally work at the school?
Yeah, let me start that, and then we'll let Liz give her opinion about it because I'd love to hear it. As I promote strengths coaching, I definitely want somebody that cares about students and cares about students being successful. However they get there, that can be an ongoing conversation, but I want there to be that desire to help and that caring piece. So the way that I introduce this to students and the way our recruiters introduce it is you basically get the opportunity. You would coach for free. You're coaching for us for free. We do pay you a little bit. We pay you between $300 and $400 for that 8 weeks, depending on whether you're a brand new coach or you are a returning coach. We try to put some incentive on those coaches returning for us, but they coach for free. We pay them to do Canvas and all the administrative stuff. And when I mention Canvas, our educators will know what that is. It's a learning management system, but it's basically grades. So our students participate in 111. There are assignments that have to be turned in. They have to be checked. We need to make sure that our students are progressing and that attendance, they're there for a lecture, that they're there for their coach meetings, that they haven't missed out on stuff. And so there's administrative things that go on that we just need to take care of in terms of a student progressing through a course. That's what we pay our coaches for. We really feel like the actual coaching experience that they do, that's something that they need to do out of a need to help students and should be something that they do without there being any money attached to it. Liz, what do you think?
Yeah, so I don't know a single coach in this program that coaches for the pay of this. I also haven't found that it's something that you can't do or pair with another job. So I work in career services and I do another mentoring role over there. And there's all sorts of mentoring roles all over this campus that will pay you for that type of work. But I'm doing this to really develop my relationship skills and also to meet students. I felt my sophomore year of college that I wasn't really exposed to anyone other than who was a junior or senior level, and that I wanted to get to know the incoming students as well. And I didn't want to let go of that experience that I could be missing out on. So that's why I'm coaching. And I'm also, once I got through that first semester, I saw the impact that I was having. These students who decided that, yes, the college business is for me, or no, maybe it's not for me. And they're finding something that they love, which is really at the root of what we're doing, helping students to find something that they'll love to do for the rest of their lives or find a field of study that they'll love. And so that's why I'm coaching, and that's why my friends are coaching too.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, with what you and Liz have said, there's going to be a lot of people who are like, okay, sign me up. How do I get my institution on board to do this? Certainly, we're not keeping this to ourselves at UNL. We'd love to see it replicated in some ways. What is the right way, either for a coach or for academic institutions, to get plugged in? So, because there's way more details than we can do in a 35 or 40-minute webcast. Mm-hmm. What's the right way? Who do they need to contact? How does that work?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would just contact your Gallup representative and, talk to Katie Lyon or Tom Matson or any one of our sales folks that are in the higher ed group and ask them about what's going on here. They're informed about it, and also have great examples of other schools that are doing great strengths work that involves coaching. We have the luxury here at the University of Nebraska to have a course built in and having access to that course. And that makes things way easier. And I understand the frustration that educators have out there when they don't have that built-in course and can't convince administrators of the efficacy of having a course that is entirely strengths-based. This is a luxury that we experience here. Hopefully what we're doing with that is just really taking advantage of that opportunity to create a best practice scenario that you guys will be able to reference. Another opportunity that you have, I think, to get some development around this and be more informed about it is that the summit this summer, the Gallup Summit for Strengths, is we've created a pre-conference session. It actually is the same day that the conference starts, but the conference doesn't actually begin until there's a reception that Monday evening. I believe it's the 16th. Am I right, Jim?
Correct. Yeah, you are correct.
And so during that day, we've actually arranged, if it's not up yet, it soon will be available for you to enroll to participate in this pre-conference. You can, we're providing transportation to and from and to Omaha. So you would catch a bus in Omaha, come down to Lincoln, see our facilities, see actually where the CliftonStrengths Institute is, and then we're going to have a whole day of programming and opportunities to go to best practice sessions, et cetera, to find out more about how you can implement a strengths coaching program within your university. I think the other thing that you can do is find, again, we've done this entirely with peer-led coaching. It's the only way that it's scalable. So if you feel like you're going to do this with staff, you're just going to be very limited. And if you're hesitant around the peer-led model, I would encourage you to get over that hesitancy. It's just an amazing experience to see the development that our coaches have gone through. And I would make the plug or make the claim that there's not a better way, especially for a business student. There is not a better experience within a college of business. And I'm not making that exclusive to the University of Nebraska. We've got wonderful management courses that are there to provide you with a sound foundation around theory, around organizational behavior, et cetera. We've got great instructors that do that here, but I don't think there's a more practical experience that our students have to participate in at the College of Business, but being a part of our coaching program. They get practical experience on what it's like to manage people and learn how to have coaching conversations, learn how to have appropriate conversations with direct reports, students in this setting that develop their abilities, their skills to be great managers coming right out of college. Liz, would you want to comment on that? Do you have any comments to that?
I think that I've gained a ton of opportunity and room to grow in this program. So I feel that I have space to be developed as a coach also. So it's not exclusive to me developing my students. It's also me becoming more developed as a coach. And there's lots of emphasis on that. As a management major, I can speak that this is the most direct experience that I've ever gotten to actually managing a team of people. So working with these groups of 10 and 20 students or 50 in the whole class setting, and then also working with the other coaches that are in our group. So the other 5 coaches that are more so junior, senior level, who are also balancing like school schedules and other work schedules and learning how to work through those challenges that can arise, but also using that as a really good collaborative space. So bouncing ideas off of each other. And that's also a lot of what we do in our actual institute. It's a great meeting place for us. And it's a place where we can talk through our wins and our challenges and about really cool experiences that we're having with students and their comments. And it's just been a really great space for us to grow.
That's great.
Mark, is there any cost for that session on Monday at the summit, or is there an additional fee for folks to join you on that Monday?
There is. I think we landed on $99, something like that, around $100 for that additional day. So.
And it's covering, and that's going to cover the transportation from Omaha to Lincoln, a full day down there. I'm assuming a meal
right.
As well. Lunch will be covered, and then you'll be bringing them back in time to be at the evening reception where we'll have food there as well. So great opportunity. For a lot of folks, they come in on Sunday, and that Monday day is just kind of open, and so they could fill that time kind of with that. It looks like we lost Liz. Maybe we'll see if we can get her back here real quick, Mark, as we think about the summer as well. Maybe she's got to go to class.
She's got to go to class.
Okay. So we just ran out of time with her.
Yeah.
As we think about summer, we have a builders program as well. Could you kind of briefly talk through our builders program?
Yep. So I think we didn't pilot it, but we had a builders in Omaha last summer and had some of our Clifton builders here at the University of Nebraska participating in that as mentors. And we're replicating that here in Lincoln. So we've got an opportunity for the community. The Lincoln Public Schools has rallied around us having the opportunity to allow a large number of students within the public schools to participate in the BP10 instrument and start to begin to think about themselves as entrepreneurs. And so we've got some businesses that have agreed to sponsor that, as well as some sponsorship from the University of Nebraska. And so we're hosting a program for probably about 30 selected students out of the Lincoln Public Schools to participate in that we call the Builder Program. And it's basically a 1 month long immersion experience where students come in, they learn about their strengths, they learn about starting a business, and then they start a business. And so by the end of the month-long experience, they've created a business and actually gone out and see if they can make some money doing that. And so that we're excited about being able to host that here at the University of Nebraska. We'll be staffing that with some of the folks out of the Institute. And then there's Liz back. She decided to skip class probably, huh? Yeah. So, and then as well, the mentors that we're providing in the Builders program is also going to be some of our college builders.
No, that's great. We'll highlight some of those opportunities and keep you posted on them this summer, including when that availability to sign up for that additional session down there in Lincoln becomes available for the summit. I'll make sure I make that available on our Gallup webcast page. So if you go to facebook.com, if you haven't signed up for this page, you probably should. Facebook.com/groups/called to coach. Originally, that was the very first webcast that we did, and I can't change that link, but if you head out and look or search for Gallup Webcasts on Facebook, that gets as well as there. Mark, as we get kind of to the end of our time here, anything else we missed with Liz as we think about the future? Liz, what are you doing? Maybe I'll ask you this. Liz, what are your plans for next year?
Well, my plans for next year include a lot of, well, I'm really looking forward to this internship mostly. The plan for that is for the other three, or there's two of us additional to me that will be participating in this internship as well. And as long as that goes well, I'll be very happy, looking forward to working at Gallup in the future and developing myself as a coach. I'm looking forward to possibly becoming a senior lead, which would mean that I'm managing a team of coaches. I think that would be a great experience. And then hopefully I'll be graduating next May. Fingers crossed, everything goes planned.
Mm-hmm. One other thing that we're experimenting with here in the Institute is putting together a menu of opening sessions. So students who've they've gone through the process as freshmen and now they're moving through the college and progressing, and they might want coaching around something specific. It might be just their presentation style or whatever it is. So what we're doing is we're building a menu and then also providing coaches during the day. We're going to block off some hours where we have our coaches available, and students can sign up for sessions. They might be able to do a drop-in coaching session, and Liz would obviously be one that we'd be pursuing to help us with that. So that'd be another thing. And then there's one other thing that I wanted to say about that. Now I'm forgetting it.
Yeah, it'll come back. My mom would always said it must have been a lie.
Yeah,
that's what my mom would say.
That
Future, Mark, as you think about is you're looking at next fall, what are you particularly excited about, and maybe where is there a little fear?
Well, we introduced wild animals to my lecture this spring, so I think fear is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
If your students
motivation,
they're going to be on the edge of their seats. So
there's a thin line between fear and motivation.
I interviewed some business leaders in the class just to give them an experience of hearing from people that apply strengths within organizations here in Lincoln. And one that is a friend of mine is the chief operating officer of the Lincoln Children's Zoo, and he actually brought a serval cat. It's a small. It's leopard. It looks like a leopard. It's a small cat that much bigger than a domesticated cat. And so we brought that into class and, just to kind of liven things up. There's nothing like zoo animals to get students engaged in an early morning lecture.
Yeah, well, at 8 o'clock, as Liz was saying, she had to walk across campus. Like, it's pretty tough stuff, right, Liz?
Liz needs, if we got time, Liz needs to tell the story about us, because we used to be in a concert hall. I was on a stage. We had a dark, seating, and students just, they would check out. But I didn't put up with that very much. I do have command and self-assurance and activator in my top 5. So that creates issues on its own. Liz, why don't you share that story?
Okay. So it was 8 a.m. and I always look forward to going to this class because I enjoyed the content a lot, but a lot of other students who this is just a box they need to check. We need to get through this class. This was before the individualized coaching sessions had been implemented. So they really didn't have a very strong connection to the class. They would fall asleep because it's 8 a.m. And so I'm into what Mark's saying. I think we're talking about like a strengths distribution, what strengths are present in the College of Business. And I'm really into it. And he asked a question about who in here has achievers. So I raised my hand, I have achiever. And he's like, tell us about how you use that. So I'm telling the class about how I use achiever in my daily life. And then I answer and he's like, thanks for that. Will you please wake up the 2 girls that are asleep on both sides of you? So I have to like shove both girls that are asleep on both sides of me to wake them up. And they're like, what's happening? They had no idea that I had even responded. They were completely out of it.
Yes. But it was one more thing for that achiever Liz to check off her list. So
I woke them up.
A couple of students in the class for me, which was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great story. Mark, any final thoughts before we wrap it?
No, I'm really excited. I am excited about, having the day this summer. We're planning on expanding on that, but we'd love for folks to get excited and participate because the more folks that are coming in that have expertise and the richer that experience will be. So we're excited about that.
I think one of the drawbacks to hearing you talk about this and seeing how great it is today, for some of our coaches or administrators, they may think they may have to implement something like that on day one. And certainly you've said a couple times, we started in a dark concert hall. We started, Liz mentioned they weren't doing individualized coaching. Mm-hmm. What kind of advice, and maybe from both of you, would you give someone thinking about starting this in their organization for day one? Because it's certainly, they're not going to go out the gate like we are right now because it's been 3 years, right?
Right. Yep. So I would say feed off the energy of the students that are excited about strengths. Find out who those students are. You've got some kind of program by which students are taking the instrument and finding out what their top 5 are. It's really easy to spot those ones like Liz that was excited about, learning about their strengths at 8 o'clock on a Monday morning. And when you find those students, you get them involved and you figure out a way to give them an opportunity to coach others. Turn that around as quickly as you can. Don't make it just about learning, but make it about experiences and allow those students to experiment with coaching their fellow students. And that's something that I think you can build on with or without, a class that's actually been established around strengths. Liz, what would you add to that?
I would add that whether or not freshmen recognize it or not, they need a first-year transition program. And I think that this is the most influential way that a school can do it. So by adding that individualized piece, by giving them someone to throw their questions at or to build a relationship with, so that if they're feeling like they're unmotivated or disconnected to the campus, that they have someone to go to. And I think that that's been the most impactful part of this. And I think that if you're to implement a program like this, you definitely want to start with the coaching aspect, just so everyone's connected to it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say if individuals want to watch the progression of how we've done this, if you just go to our coaches blog, go to coaching.gallup.com, put in the search Mark Pogue, and you can watch. Mark, you and I have been doing this. I think this is our 4th year of having you on, kind of updating. And I'm thinking back to some Florida days when we were talking about Strengths Quest. This was before, right, we even thought about doing an institute, and you were kind of talking about the work we've done in education and Strengths Quest. And then we've kind of recorded this journey. When we first talked about the institute, I had you on. At the end of the first year, we had you on. So there's a progression. And so if you're thinking about doing this in your institution, in your university college, we've got kind of all the steps along the way, as well as we kind of chronicle this journey that we've done. So Mark, always great to have you on. Liz, thank you for coming out today and being a part of what we're doing. Great to hear. There's some chat room. There's a little chat in the chat room that says Gallup better hire you. Otherwise, there's some coaches out there that are going to snatch you up pretty quick. So strategically, we better get the job done so that you join us.
Thank you for having me. I've had a really great time.
No, great to have you. Mark, thank you as well. Always great to catch up with you as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thanks, Jen. Thanks for the opportunity.
You bet. We'll remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we have available at the Gallup Strength Center. Just GallupStrengthCenter.com. Send us your questions or comments. We do look for guest bloggers, by the way. Or if you did something like this, or you're doing something like this, we can't keep track of all the great things that are going on inside the coaching world. If you got something that you want to share, you can write it. Might be a potential call to coach. We'd love to hear from you. Send us an email. coaching@gallup.com is the address. Put guest blogger or maybe guest call to coach. We'd love to hear. I'm looking for some great stories. And so if we'd love, and then it will probably be post summit at this point, but we would love to hear those. Again, send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. You don't forget, you can catch the recorded audio and video of this program as well as all the past ones. I mentioned that earlier. That's on our coaches blog. It's completely searchable, and we even have topic listings there for you. Head out to coaching.gallup.com. If you're interested in becoming a Gallup certified strengths coach, we mentioned that a little bit earlier. You can see a list of all the courses that lead to that off our courses page, courses.gallup.com. For Mark's opportunity, you want to stay close to what's going on the summit site. CliftonStrengthsSummit.com is the address for that. You can stay up to date. And again, I will announce that on our Facebook group, our Call to Coach, or our Gallup Webcast Facebook group when it becomes available. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Super exciting to hear these, and we'll look forward to the next Call to Coach. And with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.